Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? Happy Friday. Um, Hello to everybody in the chat. Miki, Beverly, Barbie, Julie, um, Sly, Sassy. Let's see who else. Well, if I wouldn't have just highlighted everything. I think that might be everybody for right now. Stephanie, hey, Stephanie, and Heidi. Okay, so what we're talking about today is a week ago today. As everybody is fully aware now, there was a horrible tragedy in Houston at the ASTROWORLD concert. Left now 9 total people dead. Hey, Cooch. And there are several still injured, and an 9-year-old little boy on life support still fighting for his life. Since it's happened a week ago, I just have not been able to really stop looking into this because for several reasons. I mean, I'm not a Travis Scott fan, to be honest with you. I might know one of his songs, but I have grown up literally going to the real AstroWorld, which is what the whole premise of this festival was about. If you live anywhere near Texas, and if you're around my age or even 10 years older, maybe even older than that, everybody knows about AstroWorld. AstroWorld was the best place in Houston, Texas, for kids. I know that, speaking for myself, I stayed up last night because I know I have several pictures. They had, all kinds of attractions, but I've got pictures that you'd get to go in there and look like you're on the front of a magazine. And anyway, I have several pictures from that. So I was looking for those and I was not able to find them, but it was a place that literally, every summer we went to at least once. Aside from AstroWorld, there was Waterworld. It was in a water park that was attached. And you'd have to walk across the highway over this big skyrise to get there. And where you parked was the Astrodome parking lot. The Astrodome was turned into Reliance Stadium, and now it's known as NRG. So literally, this concert took place at a place that I've been as an adult several times for the rodeo and for other events. But also, hey Amanda, but also it was a place that I had went as a kid, getting out of the car and walking over a skyrise to go to AstroWorld. AstroWorld closed probably late 90s, early 2000s, and it literally, it was like the talk of a radius of 2 hours. Everybody that ever enjoyed going there, it was just really a sad situation. So that's where I think Travis Scott got the idea to hold the event. It was and he is a Houstonian, a native Houstonian. So it was really just kind of, and it's been going on for several years, but it's to pay homage to the old Six Flags that we've all went to as a kid, and sometimes like numerous times a year. Hello, Sarah. So anyway, fast forward now to last Friday night. There's a huge festival that was not equipped with, I think from the word jump, it was a disaster. You have, this is how the stage was set up in the parking lot of Energy Stadium. And, you can even see from a systematic approach, like how these people would have gotten encased. What you see is you see the background here with the little tunnel with the stage that's in the very front in black. And then you see the yellow. The yellow is, I think, for crew and film to pass through. I'm not sure that was a public, I'm pretty positive, and security. I don't think that was a public walkway there, but if you can see the two, basically they're like two U shapes butted up against each other. That was where the crowd was. The crowd was also in front in the little smaller sections that you see closer to the stage. So from jump, in my opinion, I mean, this was probably, considering the amount of people, considering the fact that we've just got done with COVID, No, Astroworld. There's not even an Astroworld anymore, to be clear. It was in the parking lot of the Astrodome, which is NRG now. And it used to be, Astroworld would have been just right across the highway from that. I think it shut down in 1999, 98. The last time I was in Astroworld was my junior year of high school. So and I think it was closed shortly thereafter. So anyway, it was, like I said, it was a catastrophe from jump. Early in the morning, and I'll also, let me put this up too, because I know there's been a lot of garble about walking into the pits of hell. I'm really not sure the theme, but I know there was a lot of pictures I saw on Twitter and other places showing. I just want to show, this was a picture that's the Houston Chronicle put out, and this is what the Texas cyclone looked like. And if you notice at the festival, there's a thrill stage and there's a chill stage. This is probably the main attraction at Astroworld back in the day. It was a huge wooden roller coaster, and this was the entrance into that. And that's where I believe the connotation of walking through Travis's mouth came from. Well, obviously it is 100%. So anybody that's putting that picture with walking into the pits of hell, I'm not sure. This was what I think the message was, at least for this specific entrance. Anyway, so they sold their tickets in May. It was sold out in an hour to this festival. There's been many reports that Travis in the past has allowed and encouraged fans to jump through barricades and to breach barricades in order to sneak in. He has since deleted the tweet that he said he was going to allow the wild ones in. This is an image from 2019, at the festival in 2019. And this is where they were breaching barricades then. There was also a stampede that occurred, and there was also injuries in that festival. There's other reports of this other festivals encouraging somebody to jump off of a balcony and paralyzing themselves, and other riot type inciting arrests that he has gone through. So yeah, that's true, Julie. They sure did, and they called it Stormy's World. Stormy's World almost emulated, except for a little girl, emulated the whole theme for Travis too. So basically where we're at now is that 9 o'clock in the morning comes around. We see the images of these fans again breaking down flimsy fences, trying to sneak in essentially, and they do. And there's also so many images of them, just the security guards being engulfed with these people. Then they had to shut down the merch tents because there was just people engulfed. I mean, it was just a sea of people from 9 in the morning. So the concert goes on. People are rushing the stage in order to get front view, squishing themselves in. And the images, they are scary. The images and the people screaming for help, the people dropping like flies. And I kind of want to get into that a little bit too, like the medical standpoint. How did this happen? These people were having seizures? These people were fainting. These people were having cardiac arrest. And it was all because of this incredible wave of a surge of people. I included the link to the live stream of the concert venue. I didn't really want to play that here because I didn't really want anybody to get triggered, because it is really, if you go through that and whenever the aerial views show the crowd, you can literally see, it's the most eerie thing I've ever seen, that these people are packed in, and then the movement of the crowd is almost like an ocean. And with 50,000 people, stacked together and pushing on people, these people were falling and getting trampled again, like I said, and they're squished like sardines, literally. So a chest cavity, in order for it to breathe, it has to do this, right? Everybody take a breath and look what your lungs expand, your rib cage expands, and in order to take a decent breath, it has to. There's just no other way around it. So sorry, hello everybody. I'm sorry, I'm just now reading the comments. So anyway, in order for our brains to get oxygen, you have to take full respirations, because if you don't, then what happens is that you retain CO2. Okay, so when you're not inhaling and exhaling, and you're only able to not breathe or barely open your lungs to where you're taking very shallow, minimal respirations, you're going to retain the CO2, which basically, I'm going to try to break it down a little bit for you how all of these heart attacks happen. Because I mean, there's nothing but footage of people laying around, no backboard, getting CPR by fans. It was the most frightening thing I've ever seen. And I really think that it has to be reiterated. It has to be readdressed. It has to be talked about, because the emergency preparedness here for Live Nation, mind you, Live Nation, you think you could trust the best of the best and the biggest of the biggest when it comes to, live events and concert venue planning. They've done this for years. Like, where was this ball dropped? Because, and we'll talk on a little bit about liability and where the liability even lies here, because there are so many moving parts to how this could have been avoided. And the top of that is to be the entertainer, stop the show, because obviously, and like I said, I'll get into that in a second. Back to the medical part of the thing. So you're retaining CO2, you're not getting oxygen-rich oxygen, you're getting CO2 in your oxygen too, because you're like this. So everybody's breathing out, like you're squished. Everybody's breathing out CO2 themselves. You're inhaling probably a mixed ratio of oxygen and CO2 yourself. Plus, you can't expand your ribs to breathe. So, I love Live Nation too. I mean, every event that I go to, they're, like I said, they're the best of the best. But I just don't understand. And hopefully, as this not interview, but this investigation goes on, they'll be able to kind of pinpoint where and who and why. Because right now, it just doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people love Travis Scott, and I'm sure that they're just like horrified. So anyway, you're in these crowds, you're breathing not great oxygen quality anyway. Your lungs can't expand. And then what happens to that? The blood in your body starts getting absorbed with CO2. And that means your heart is getting fed non-oxygenated blood. So that's why I think that most people went into cardiac arrest right then and there, because of the hypoxic drive of the situation, never ceasing, only making it worse by your chest cavity unable to expand. And then you have a heart that's being constantly damaged by unoxygenated blood, and eventually that heart's going to stop. When your heart stops, obviously your blood delivery to every vital organ stops, including your brain. First your kidneys usually. Well, anyway, so you drop. Then you get trampled. And I've heard a lot of shade going towards the EMTs. I heard people saying they were freaked out. They were not prepared. I found one of the EMTs that were on the ground on TikTok, and I'll play you his account of things in just a second. But to me, as a medical professional, it just sounded like just complete, it was complete chaos. And what do you do whenever you can't get through a crowd and you've got people dropping, and you see one person down, and then you're going to get your stuff to resuscitate him. On the way there, you're seeing other people drop out, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I've got to go back to the first person I saw down. That's the most critical patient. But here you are, in your head, these people have 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes to be down without sufficient CPR and bag mask ventilation, which requires 2 people, mind you, to do it the correct way. It can be done as a rescue effort for a moment until help gets there, but that was the problem. There were 20 ambulances, I think, assigned that were outlying the area. They were calling for reinforcements. They were doing all they could. There was a medical tent set up. You'll hear this guy's account of the situation, and how, listening to that as somebody that knows, I was just in class 2 days ago on how to save people's lives out in the field, not at the hospital, what you're supposed to do. And it's a whole algorithm, and it has to be followed it's called return of spontaneous circulation to occur. Not only were people having heart attacks, They were also, people have seizures. I mean, you have stress and you have adrenaline and you have anxiety going, you can't breathe, and you have a seizure threshold in your brain that once that threshold is met and overran, you're gonna, it's gonna, I mean, I'm sure people had seizures that night that have never had a seizure before in their life. I guarantee it, because not everybody knows that they have seizures until that threshold in their brain with the neurotransmitters and how everything else works over and surpasses. You go into a seizure. I see it all the time. And of course, the people that were trampled, again, I think was secondary from loss of consciousness due to basically asphyxiation, suffocation. I mean, when you can't breathe, and because it doesn't matter if your mouth and your nose is covered to be suffocated, your rib cage and the mechanical movement of your lungs could suffocate you. That's why it's still called asphyxiation when you drown, basically. So thank you, Julie. Yeah, the lights could attribute to the seizures. They said there was a lot of weird levels of music, which I kind of find to be a little bit, I mean, I'm sure it could happen. I'm sure that could throw people into things. The cardiac arrest part, not so much. I don't think, because I did see some reports of them saying some low level tones could have been causing people, their heart to go funny. No, but definitely anxiety could also play a role into the heart attacks, because that could have, started up in a flutter or atrial fibrillation situation, which could ultimately have also caused people to throw clots or whatever. I mean, there's so much speculation that could be done until these autopsy reports are completed. We unfortunately won't get the complete true cause of death, but I guarantee most of them, the ninth victim yesterday, if you've not seen it, again, I know where it's at and can find it, but I did not want to play that on this stream because a lot of these images are really freaking insane. And one that sticks out the most is the young lady that was trying to get out. She was already unconscious. You could tell her body was limp, and they were taking her out on a backboard. And the backboard, I don't know what happened. But the backboard, the people taking her out of the crowd, the backboard slips out of the man's hand. I think it was an HPD officer, if I'm not mistaken, maybe security. The patient falls straight on her head. Everybody that has seen that I've been watching them watch it, it's like the same reaction, like, oh my God. And so I'm not sure what, there was reports of her not having consciousness or a pulse already prior to that, allegedly 10 minutes. But here's the problem I have with that is that her parents, which I also linked into the description, did a press conference yesterday and said that she was donating her organs. Now, organ donation can come in many ways. I mean, people could just barely donate their retinas, and not their retinas, I'm sorry, their corneas and other tissues. But the thing about it is if somebody's down for 10 minutes and they have lack of, yes, it was the ninth victim. I did post on my community tab. I was so excited about the community tab. Thanks, Heidi. But yeah, so post the video. Okay. Is that okay to post on the community tab? Because it's really, really, really hard to watch. But so anyway, back to my point is that she's donating her organs, and I could be wrong. I know that there was also reports of the ambulance, and that was her family, saying that she had had a heart attack twice en route to the ambulance, to the hospital, and that she was already intubated, which means a tube down your throat into your lungs, breathing for you. Okay, I'll add that. I just don't want people to think that that's too much, but I'll add it. But what I'm trying to say is that makes me think that if she was able to, it makes me think, first of all, the first account of her being pulseless for 10 minutes was inaccurate, because I don't think the EMS would report that she was having a heart attack, and then she definitely wouldn't have been intubated if, usually you do CPR first, CPR, and intubating is usually, as long as you're masking good and you're getting a good chest rise and fall, intubation's really kind of like the last thing you do, just because it takes another step, and it's another, yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. It takes another step. And so, like I said, as long as you're getting you've got a CO2 thing on your ambu bag and you're seeing that you're, whatever, then you're good. But the report that she had 2 heart attacks and out to the hospital makes me think that maybe she was not pulseless as what's thought, and that she did have a heart attack on the way there. Now, why did she have a heart attack? Did she have a heart attack because she was hypoxic, like we just talked about the lungs not being able to expand and essentially suffocating due to inability to mechanically use your lungs? Or is it because she got dropped on her head when she was trying to leave the crowd? I'm clearly only speculating because I don't know what the circumstances are, but I will tell you the fact that she was an organ candidate for donation tells me that usually patients that have just one organ involvement are eligible to donate. Meaning, I think I won't be shocked if it comes out that she had a brain injury, possible, bleeding with herniation, something due to that trauma. Again, I'm just speculating because I do not know all the specifics, and without the specifics, it's hard to guess correctly. But just the fact that she was donating her organs means that most of her other organs should have been viable. It's a lot. It really is a lot, and it's the saddest thing. It should have never happened. Point blank, it should have never happened. There's reports that they here. Why don't I just stop there since we were talking about the medical stuff, and I'm going to let y'all watch there's 3 parts. We'll stop in between each of this gentleman who was on the ground and actually attempting to save lives. And yeah, it's where were the AEDs? Where were the automatic external defibrillators? And even if these things were stocked and ready, why was there not a better emergency preparedness plan? There was a plan for a mass shooting. I think there was a plan for, I can't remember the other plan, but there was no plan and there was no line item for a crowd surge. And like I said, again, please, if you want to go see what I mean by a crowd surge, this rocking motion of these people is insane. But let's watch the paramedic tell his story really quick, and then we'll move on to see what Travis Scott's attorney had to say about this.
I was one of the EMTs that worked at the ASTROWORLD event. Quick disclaimer, I'm going to give absolutely no names, no company names, nothing like that, nothing to disclose or put anyone in jeopardy. Me and my partner, let's just say Medic 1, me and Medic 1 were stationed at the entrance of ASTROWORLD. About 30 minutes into Travis Scott's set, they called us saying, hey, we need backup by the stage. So me and Medic 1 arrive at the front of the crowd to Medic 2, Medic 3. They're like, hey, I have people, come with me. And so we walk through the VIP section down the middle of the crowd. As soon as we get past the VIP section, really shoulder to shoulder in the thick of the crowd, there was a couple people that kind of grabbed onto my shoulder and was like, hey, there's a girl passed out over here. So me and Medic 1 separate from Medic 2 and 3. They go on their call, we go on this new one. This girl's laying down, and me and Medic 1 are asked, what's going on? And one of the people says that, oh, she's been down for 10 minutes. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm thinking, damn it, how has no one done anything? Just let her lie on the ground for 10 minutes. So I get down there, check her pulse and breathing, do my whole ABCs check, and she has no pulse, no breathing, which means she could have not been breathing with no pulse the whole 10 minutes. She's been sitting there for 10 minutes, probably no pulse, no breathing, no oxygen to her brain. I can't just throw her over my back and escort her out of the crowd because it was a 5-minute hike into this damn crowd. So I tell Medic 1, hey, I'm going to come back for you. I'm going to grab a crash bag. So I get out of the crowd and I grab my one crash bag, which was a huge mistake. I had no clue what I was getting into. So on my hike back into the crowd with my crash bag, at the halfway point right here, another medic performing CPR. I get down, I'm like, hey dude, where's your partner? What's going on? And he's like, I don't know, man. I just saw this person who's no pulse, no breathing. I just started CPR. I don't know how I'm gonna get him out. In EMS, you have to complete your first call before you can assist on any other ones. And so I was like, okay, look, I'll come back for you too. I need to go to my original guy. So I head out, and then in the middle point between the midpoint and my end point right here, I find a third person performing one-man CPR on another man. And I get there, I'm like, hey, what's happening? Where's your partner? And they're like, they're taking care of another unconscious person. I need to do one-man CPR. I don't know how I'm getting this person out of here. So here I am presented with 3 different EMS personnel providing one-man CPR on 3 different patients, completely isolated from each other, no backboard, no way of getting out. And I'm just like, God damn it. Because of the heat of the moment, whatever, right? My thought process was, okay, I'm not getting these first 2 people out until I get my original person out, because that's the first person I ran into. So I gave person number 2, or CPR person number 2, right here, I gave him the crash bag. And I was thinking, you know what? Person number 1 that I originally went to, probably already done a couple cycles of CPR, and I'm just gonna throw her on my back and get her the hell out of here. And to give y'all context, the radio wasn't working, the music was way too loud. I had called for backup and for help so many times, and it was just not going through. I tossed person number 2 the crash bag, and I get to person number 1 who was originally there, and thank goodness like 5 cops were there. And they had brought a backboard with them, which thank God. We loaded her up onto the backboard and we get her out of there. She's on her way with like 4 or 5 cops. My original partner, medic 1's making sure she's okay. And so I'm like, okay, I gotta take care of these other 2. I get to CPR number 2, who I dropped the crash bag off with. And the medic's still there, but a cop arrived with another backboard. So after they finished their round of CPR, I'm like, okay, look, being in this crowd is literally a life threat. That was apparent. Life over limb, she needs to get the hell out of here, just like everyone else who's passed out here. And just to say, along the way, I had so many people reach out to me, tug on my jacket, grab my shoulder, and was like, please help me, I broke my foot. Please help me, I dislocated my shoulder. Please help me, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And I had to tell all of them, I will try to come back for you, but people are literally dead right now that I need to go help. So we get CPR number 2 loaded up onto a backboard. The cops are like, I got it. And I'm like, okay, thank God. Take him out. I can go to CPR number 3. I get to CPR number 3 and no one's touched this man. No one's helped this man. He needs a crash bag. So I sprint out of the crowd, grab another crash bag, bring it back. What do you know? Security with a backboard. I'm like, thank fuck, teamwork, right? And so as soon as I get 3rd CPR kind of out the door, out of the way from the crowd, I tell them, look, 3 people dropped in the span of 10 minutes that only I could see. There's like over, 50,000 people here, and I witnessed 3, only me. There's gotta be more. I told those medical personnel, look, I'm gonna go in and find these people, do one-man CPR, do whatever needs to be done to make sure, provide the best amount of care possible and get them the hell out of here. This was just the higher acuity patients. Me and Medic 1, my partner, probably dealt with 5 or 6 other lower acuity. And when I mean lower acuity, I mean not instantly dying, right? I'm talking about broken feet AMS, people who don't even know their name, they don't even know how to speak anymore. It was horrendous. Me and Medic 1 ran our asses off. And in the thick of this, I'm like, so many people are going down, so many people are getting injured. And my observations were that there was 0 crowd etiquette at all. They just wanted to get closer to the show, closer to Travis Scott, and do their thing. They didn't give a single damn about anyone around them. It was an absolute shit show, and I promise you, a lot of these rumors going around where, oh, EMS they weren't trained enough. They were understaffed. Every EMT in the field that I saw, they weren't new to the job, nor were they EMRs. Everyone in the med tent was the absolute A-team. In the medical tent, they had 2 doctors, a SWAT physician, a ton of SWAT medics, seasoned paramedics, and then basics. If you could draw an A-team from Houston that aren't doctors, they were there. It was just a situation where maybe just over 100 or 150 personnel was responsible for probably over 50,000 highly irresponsible people. Whose fault is it? My observations was the crowd. There were probably some, and you could probably see from the videos going around the internet, these people who are getting up on these towers, screaming at camera people, please stop the show. Those are the heroes. Those are the people who need to be applauded. Because those are the people who actually gave a damn, saw that people were dying, and were like, hey, look, this concert doesn't mean shit. 8 people are dying. At the end of the day, we had 8 confirmed deaths so far, 11 confirmed cardiac arrests. What does that mean? That means 8 people confirmed dead on scene, and the other 3 are still being worked on in the hospital. They might be vegetables by this point. Just highly frustrating. Me and every single one of the medical personnel did our very best, and we're being slandered. We were presented with an impossible situation, and everyone was escorted to the hospital. Everyone was taken care to the best of everyone's ability, and I know for damn sure, whoever my hands touched, I did my absolute damnedest to provide the best care I could. It's just sad to know that when you bring over 50,000 self-centered people who only care about themselves into one place, this is what happens.
It just leaves me, I'm trying not to tear up because the medics are getting slammed. The medics are, and there's just been a release of the audio, which maybe I can find in just a second to share, of the medics trying to control everything and radioing in to get help. But like he said, I mean, they were set up to fail from the beginning. They were set up to fail by the amount of people, not knowing. I wouldn't just say they were all self-centered. I would say some of them didn't know. I mean, there is a chilling picture of a crowd. I mean, just like right here. I mean, it's just look at the gentleman on the ground. I mean, this was happening as this crowd was swaying, and the velocity of that of the amount of weight behind everybody. It was a human domino effect. And some of these people were falling because they were getting pushed. Some of these people were falling because they were going into cardiac arrest. But I mean, this does not represent to me what a music festival should look like in any capacity. And if you could imagine, just you see the images online of the ambulances trying to get through. And I mean, while it was a golf cart ambulance, I mean, that's what they had to use to get through to these crowds. And they couldn't. There was a man that jumped up on there and started raging, as Travis Scott calls it. And I don't think I think that there was a mixture of people being intoxicated, not paying attention, people being trampled over, people just being caught in the moment of the whole thing and not thinking. So where does the liability lie here? He says in his perspective, it's the crowd, which 100% the crowd, 100%. But the person that had control of that situation, the only person that had control of that situation was the artist. That's it. So then you guys sit here and think, okay, well, what did the artist know? What did the artist know? According to Travis's attorney, he didn't know anything. He didn't know anything until he got to Dave & Buster's, somewhere that I literally just brought my son to, the same exact building over the summer. Fun place to go, right off the highway, right near the venue. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Kelly. Everybody else that's coming in. But hey, Nurse Jen, that's come in. Perfect. Goes to Dave & Buster's for an after party with Drake. It's been reported that he was notified at that after party and left abruptly. Travis Scott has a home in Houston, in downtown Houston. He has it under an assumed name, but he's been there ever since last weekend. I can't believe even this, for you Britney fans out there, not to change the subject, but with his manager, none other than Lou Taylor of TriStar Entertainment, with him, as well as Kylie and the baby, as well as his huge legal team, have been at his mansion in Houston ever since this happened. But Lou Taylor, of all people to be involved in this, that right there in and of itself, sketch. She is the one that is just, she is known as a dirty, I don't know. I'm not even going to say anything because I've heard her. She's been striking YouTube channels. Amidst of all this chaos with Britney, she's doing this. But anyway, that's where they've been. So we're either supposed to believe, and again, it's going to come out, Chief Finner with Houston PD said they are doing an independent investigation. They had over 500 Houston police officers there, as security. He said in his press conference, we investigate our own all the time. So no, Travis Scott has a very, 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 very big following. That is so, because somebody blocked that page. I think that was rude. I'm just not trying not to pay attention to the comments because they get me distracted. Anyway, let me get back to this stuff. Okay, so are we supposed to believe here that nobody told Travis? He stood up on a pedestal on a riser and he was singing, and they keep calling it auto-tune dirge. I don't know if that's like the exact terminology or if that's actually a word, but singing into the microphone as he's watching this body. Okay, so my first instinct is maybe he thought they were passed out. You know what I mean? Like, to be fair, it's very hard, and I'm just sitting here to be fair. It's hard, in my opinion, I would think, to tell if somebody's passed out or if they're deceased. I don't think that in anybody's realm of thought that he was looking at that person being crowd surfed lifeless over the crowd, that person was actually deceased. So I guess the question is, and as far as I know, the whole setup is still intact at Energy Stadium. They're still investigating everything. But, and like I said, I'll play the attorney's explanation in a moment, because as far as he says, Travis was not made aware. Okay, so let's go back to the days of, I don't know if y'all remember, and maybe I don't even know if I'm remembering correctly, but does anybody remember back when Two Live Crew became a thing? And correct me if I'm wrong here, in my distant memory as a child, I can remember reports, I don't know if it was in magazines or MTV, I don't even know how I got this information, of cops, and maybe it wasn't Two Live Crew, maybe it was Easy, I just really can't remember, stopping performances, getting up there, cutting it off, you're done, this is over, this is what's freaking happening. I don't know why, if it's the lights, if it's the in-ears that they have to wear when they perform, that's got their whole entire music coming through his ears. I don't know how the specifics work with how that inline can be switched to somebody saying, yo, you need to stop. I don't know what he was able to see, that it was a sea of people. So what was going on was CPR down in these, what I guess would be thought of as pits or circles, because there were several mosh pits also. But then you see reports of these people falling out right in front of the stage. So what is the truth here? Are we going to have to sit here and believe, because this is the only explanation, that he knew what was going on and just kept going? Because that's what it looks like. Kylie was there, Kendall was there, and Stormy was there. They were in a tent far set in the back, and everybody is really getting on to Kylie because she has a video, and right in this corner of the video that she since deleted, there's the golf cart ambulance. I mean, again, you can only help to think that these people maybe just did not understand or recognize the seriousness of this problem. But then you also have footage of Kylie getting safely carried out by a human chain of people, elbow to elbow, surrounding her. So there's a lot of stuff that's really left up to speculation for now until everybody can I mean, in my opinion, I don't know if that, I mean, I know Chief Fenner said he's been in contact with the FBI. As of right now, they are not going to involve the FBI. They supposedly had a meeting today. But I'm sorry, not right now, as of the press conference on Wednesday, they were going to do an independent investigation. It was also previously reported that there was and this was by Houston PD, this was by the chief of police, said originally when they did their initial press conference that they had believed that somebody was being injected with narcotics. He even went on to say this individual, this security guard, was injected in the neck with narcotics. He went down, he was revived by Narcan, and then he was observed to have a puncture wound on his neck. Then he comes back Wednesday to say that never happened. I just don't understand. Like, even with that, report by the chief of police, mind you, of Houston. And this is not a small police force. This is a enormous police force. And he's a new police chief. Art Avesito previously held his position and I think was fired over another scandal. But anyway, this individual is fairly new to being in charge of things, and goes on to report that this individual, and it spread like wildfire, because I know that in your first incident, in fact, when my husband came home from the deer lease on Saturday morning before he left back to the deer lease, he was like, oh my gosh, did you hear that 8 people overdosed at Travis Scott's concert? And I'm like, what? How? Like, that's horrible. What, I mean, you hear about Chinese fentanyl getting driven all over the streets and people taking, these horribly laced concoctions of, such a difference from hospital grade narcotics. And they take this stuff and then your respiratory drive goes out and you're done. That's it. You quit breathing. You start breathing 2 times a minute. Same principle as being crushed in this crowd. You're not, except for this time, you're also mechanically unable to breathe, but it's driven by narcotics and the fact that you're so relaxed and you're so out of it that you literally don't breathe enough. I'm not sure how much drug use was going on. I'm sure there's no telling, but what I do know is that this report of this injection to a neck of a security officer was identified as false. He later had reported that he was merely struck in the head, and then later regained consciousness. But who's communicating to this police chief, telling him about Narcan and the puncture wound? Where is this happening? And my question also remains is with the Houston Police Department, and I'm not going to sit here and praise the medics and shame anybody else, because to me, like I said, a bunch of moving parts, that it was a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm for catastrophe, from the layout of the venue. Again, for those that weren't here, I mean, from the layout, and here's another view of the layout so that you can better see it. I had showed a side view before, but there's another view. Again, you don't see, and the yellow is not like, that is a barricade. That is for security and camera crew. So where are these people that were packed in from the sides and wrapped around to the back, which was all pushing forwards, even behind what you see is all this setup. You see the setup of the half stacks of those speakers. You see the VIP section off to the right where there's a tent, and there's also some kind of security structure around that. And you see, I'm assuming what these pillars are to the left is where you saw the girl and the guy jump up on his and try to get attention to the person that was live streaming for Apple Music, on the left. And so far behind from what we're even able to see is a sea of people. And there are not enough, I mean, it's insane that there was not, I don't know, a fire marshal or somebody that did not ping this structure as being a hazard. It's not like this is the first time AstroWorld Fest has come to Houston. They were well aware of everything that happened. So my question is why, and again, hopefully it'll be discussed, why was there not somebody with authority, not fans, not anybody else? Why didn't police storm that stage and call for this shit to be cut off? If Travis couldn't hear, if Travis couldn't see, again, it's going to be investigated. I can't tell you what the man saw or heard. He really hasn't said much at all. I'm sure under the, but again, I'll play the attorney video here in a moment so that he's finally said something via his attorney. But again, there was no way out for so many people. And you can just see by looking at it. I mean, and I'm not an engineer, I don't know. But to me, from jump, it was a recipe of disaster. And I agree, Shelley, that the logistics were skewed from jump. Again, I don't understand, because just looking at it as somebody that doesn't know anything about anything can see that where that would be a problem. And you've got to understand, Travis Scott is one of the biggest artists for a much younger generation. I mean, he's a Fortnite emote, my little boy even knows who he is because he's on Fortnite, was on Fortnite. They have taken his emote away. And they should have, Shelly. They should have stormed that stage if they could do it. And if I'm wrong, if it was Two Live Crew, I just remember in the 90s, some rappers getting shut down, and it was only not even because of stage surge, it was because of their language on stage in certain cities. Um, oh, you know what, Julie? I'm not sure. Have to say no. I was just at the Luke Combs concert a couple weekends ago, and I had my regular purse with me, just because I was like, it's not like I'm gonna be doing anything but watching the show, with my daughter and my other friend, but whatever. So they turned me around to me. I couldn't even bring my purse in, and that was before going through the metal detectors. But as we've seen, the metal detectors were breached at like 9 a.m. They had lost the control of the crowd before anything even started. To make matters worse, Drake is a surprise cameo guest. Okay, so this and let me also preface this that days prior to this, Travis is going around the city. He's one of the only celebrities that have come back to Houston, and really, it was Two Live Crew, right, Heidi? That's what I thought. What's up, real? So yeah, if they can come storm the stage for Two Live Crew because they're saying, singing freaking automobile, in a state that's a conservative state back in the freaking 90s or 80s, then why can they come storm that stage and say stop? I mean, maybe for God's sake, I can't speak for him, but I do know that one thing: when you're on a stage and these lights, like, what could he see? What could he see? What could he hear? And I'm not taking up for the man by any stretch of the imagination, because he was the only one that could have stopped this problem. He's the only one that crowd would have listened to. But I did also hear that the police were scared that stopping the show would have incited more of a riot. I kind of can see where that would make sense. And to be honest, real, it was that venue could have held 150,000 more. So let's say 50,000 snuck in. For the 50,000, I mean, there's 100,000 tickets sold for both weekends. It was reported, which how can they report? Like, it didn't look like they had much of a way to count. And it's not like everybody was like tick, tick going through. How could they count? But allegedly there had 50,000 people there that night, let's say, and it wasn't even 50,000 more that snuck in. I mean, we say a good number, but that venue should have held way more than that. That venue is a huge parking lot. It could, I mean, and if you look at the footage, you can see the back, and even people on TikTok being like, it was safe in the back. It was the people trying to go to the front, and then the crowd's hyped up. They're getting told to rage, which is, I guess, something that they do at that concert. Get up, get up. Everybody is doing, their thing. Then Drake comes out, and it's already a disaster. You already can't get in to help people. Like we just saw the paramedic. It was just mass hysteria, and the people wanting to see and to get, and like I said, go to that link in the description and you will see the biggest amount of people you've ever seen in your life doing, like, swaying like a tree or an ocean. It's insane. Yep, that's where we park for the rodeo. That's where we used to park to go to ASTROWORLD when I was little. I mean, that's where the Astrodome used to be. It was like one of the wonders of the world, supposedly. Like it says. That's what they used to always say. So my parents used to say. It's like one of the wonders of the world. Houston is very proud of its people, and especially people like Travis Scott coming back and giving to the community. He had and let me tell you how serious Houston is about this. It's like some things just can't be forgiven. He was at an elementary school last week, giving a garden to a class at a school, like a rock, some kind of a garden. He was at a community center in a neighborhood that he grew up at. He put a whole new basketball court with new, everything was new there. It was just, but it was admonished with his Cactus Jack, which is his nonprofit organization. And literally yesterday, people in Houston were scraping that stuff away, taking out every last thing that he had just done, because the accountability lies in the person that could have done something. So to me, the only thing that we can, Houston has. Houston has. I mean, there's so many there's over 100 lawsuits already filed. And I'm sorry, but these families, can you imagine being one of the lucky ones to get a ticket in a sold out festival, mind you, not just a show. This isn't like a concert. This is a show, a festival, 2 days. You go by your concert. And can you imagine that day? I mean, I even heard somebody else say this earlier. I think it was on YouTube, but it really resonated with me because it made me get chills. It made my heart just sink to my stomach that the day you were the lucky one to get your ticket, you never knew. They never knew. They never knew this was their ticket to their death. It's mind-boggling, and it could have been avoided. And I think that there's very, very, very many entities to blame for this. If you haven't seen Bharti's mother's press conference, that was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. She's getting her organs harvested in the OR, so she was still technically alive, but she was declared brain dead the night before. But in order to harvest organs, you keep a patient alive, you get a set of orders, and the orders are for certain vasopressors and certain settings on a ventilator. And what they do is, even though there's no brain activity, they keep your body alive to incubate the organs so that you can donate them. Then they take you to the OR like an actual operating room patient, and they actually do surgery on you to remove your organs. And then the organ, it's Life Alliance, I think, is usually who's there, gets the organs, and they fly into an airplane and they deliver them. But this woman's daughter was harvesting organs for others, and she's doing this press conference, and she's doesn't even understand. Like, she keeps saying she can come back, she can come back. Like, unbelievable. See, and that's how it should be. And there's and he's the reason Travis is getting so much scrutinization is because he is like, there's footage of him in other shows, where he crowd surfing and loses a shoe, and he stops the show because his shoes got lost. I mean, again, that was a date that was during the day. I just really want to see what they're going to have to say in his defense, but I'm going to let y'all hear what his lawyer had to say. And so that maybe that can and I'm going to stop it every few seconds because I'm not trying to. I read in terms of service that you can do TikToks. I will learn from this stream if I did anything wrong, but I'm going to just see. And I'll play some of this because it's really, in this Good Morning America reporter did a pretty good job of pinning this guy down and being like, wait, what? Because at the end of the day, without us knowing any details, from what I've seen, Travis Scott might possibly lose his entire career over this. So exactly, it is. Can you imagine letting your kid, and I'm sure some of those kids probably had to beg their parents to let them go to that. 14 years old, 16 years old, 9-year-old fighting for his life. There was a 3-year-old on their parents' shoulders in that crowd near the stage. A toddler, a little bitty toddler. But for the kids that went without their parents, and for the kids that went alone, could you imagine sending them off the drill team, the beautiful girl that was in the drill team? I'm going to go ahead really quick before I play this attorney interview, and I'm just going to post really quick picture of the victims. And I really urge you guys, oh, did I not load it? Yes, I did. I really urge you guys to please, please, please pray to whoever you pray to for these victims and their families. Oh, I didn't mean to. I wish I could hide my logo now. Actually, and I'm missing one that I did not add, and that is Bharti that died, and that's the one that was dropped on her head. So let me find an image of her so I can include her. She was a beautiful girl, 22 years old, A&M student. And I will share that really quick, I think, if I can. Oh, I can't. I wish I had it. I'll also put that on my community tab whenever I'm finished. I had thought I had loaded the updated list of victims, but I guess I forgot to do that. So anyway, it's very, very, very sad. I'm going to now share what Travis's attorney and spokesperson had to finally say about this right now.
This morning. I want to start right there with Bharti Shahini, the 9th young person who passed away from the injuries that she sustained there at your client's show. We also have a 9-year-old boy who is in this medically induced coma. So I'll ask you, how much responsibility does your client bear for what happened that night?
You know what? That's what the investigations are about. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of is who was responsible. This obviously was a systemic breakdown that we really need to get to the bottom of before we start pointing fingers at anyone.
There are so many questions indeed about what happened there. We know,
and you know, it's interesting that he says to stop pointing fingers. If you notice that in the moment, he will also say, he starts pointing fingers kind of. And so it's interesting to see, you know, this attorney is paid to represent this entertainer. He's paid to get him off for this crime. Or, you know, I've heard also say, people say that this is a criminal investigation because of the level and the magnitude of, I don't know if they're going to call it negligence. I don't know what they're going to call this, but I mean, this is a serious, serious situation.
But police declared this mass casualty event just before 9:40 p.m. The show, though, continued to go on for another 40 minutes. That mass casualty declaration, did it not get to your clients at all, or anyone on his team for that matter?
It absolutely did not. In fact, I think we've seen footage of police half an hour later just walking about and not looking like it was a mass casualty event. But clearly, the important thing is that never got to Travis. That never got to Travis's crew. He's up there trying to perform. He does not have any ability to know what's going on down below, certainly on a mass level.
So we've seen, you're looking at one right now, so many videos from that show. We know.
So he says they did not know. He was not able to get, they were not notified. And again, you know, it's going to come out. It will all come out, hopefully, the truth, and not some cover up or some kind of anything that's going to be protective against the people that are absolutely responsible for this. But it should all come out. And let me tell you, if nobody alerted this man that this was going on, and it can be proven, which they've got sciences, they've got ways to figure this out. You don't have to recreate a dangerous crowd to figure out what can be seen. They've got ways to do this, especially the FBI, which is why I can't understand why we aren't getting broader into the authorities here for the investigation. But I mean, as far as he says, he was not informed. Let's listen some more.
That Travis stopped the show several times. At one point, he acknowledges that someone had passed out and called for help. We've seen other footage where you could see ambulance lights, concert goers going out in stretchers. At what point did Travis find out what happened? And while all this was going on, what did he think was happening down below?
You know what? Travis didn't really understand the full effect of everything until the next morning. Truly, he did not know what was going on. As you could see from the clip right there, he's on a riser at one point and he sees one boy down and he actually asks security, stops the show. He asks security to get to that person. There were a couple other times, one with, you say an ambulance, but it looked more like a golf cart with some lights. He wasn't sure what that was, but he stopped the show for that, told people to get aside if they're okay, put their hands up. There was one other.
I'm going to stop right there. He said, put your middle finger up. He said something along the lines of, you know, there's an ambulance over there. But again, you're seeing a golf cart. You see this person adorned on the top of it eventually. Was it not discussed with Travis Scott? I mean, it's not like this man I know, Heidi, that's how I feel too. I feel that in a certain part of me, I feel like, how would he know? People do pass out at concerts all the time. Look at Michael Jackson's concerts. I wish I would have gotten the opportunity to go to one of those. But look at all those people that passed out at Michael Jackson's concerts. So it's like, it's really hard until you have all the information to really point a finger at anybody. And I'm just kind of going over all the things because I feel like it's a really hard place to be, because he was the only one that could have stopped it, but what did he know? And if he didn't know the right thing, then who dropped the ball in telling him? Why weren't there radios? There's reports that there were no radios. I think people were given cell phone numbers. But there were also people saying that so many people were trying to call 911 that there was no cell phone service in the parking lot where the venue was held. And he did say, put your middle finger up. But again, we are going to be forced to believe that this man did this on purpose. If we believe that he was told people were dying, if we were told, or see him saying, put your middle finger up, I don't think any human being would be able to sit there and continue to perform if he was notified correctly of what happened. It's just hard. It's just hard to keep your mind around that this person did this on purpose and kept going regardless. Again, whenever think more comes out, we'll find out more. But until then, I'm just going to say, and he went to Dave and Buster's and partied with Drake. Like this person in the comments says, he's a liar. The world knew. It's a lot. Here's some more.
We saw something specific, but understand that when he's up on the stage and he has flash pots going off around him and he has an ear monitor that has music blasting through it and his own voice, he can't hear anything. He can't see anything.
We also just saw this new report that Marcus was just talking about right before you, about how out of hand this was even before the concert started. Folks storming security gates, one person sent to the hospital before these gates even open. Was Travis Scott aware of any of that?
He certainly was not. He's not part of that. He doesn't run security. He was preparing for the concert, and that's it. So this is the first time I've seen footage of that, and I'm pretty sure that Travis wasn't aware of that until much after the concert.
I have a problem with that. How is that the first time you've seen footage of that? I mean, I know that you've got people like all that you guys have is kind of like a kind of congruency to the Gabby Petito case, where these people, the concert goers, hold the evidence in their phones. And every attorney's got the same mantra of, we need your evidence. Okay. And without this evidence, it is sad, Dee. And without this evidence, they can't really progress on. I'm certain. I mean, and hopefully it will be explained, but that they did not know. Maybe it will be explained and proven somehow.
But this isn't the first time, sir, that fans have been injured at one of Travis Scott's shows. He was arrested, in fact, twice for incidents that took place at his concert. Does he not have a history of inciting crowds that come to his shows?
You know what? Travis, as an artist, has really grown up a lot. I've spoken personally to him about this, and he really didn't understand the magnitude of his power up on the stage, I think, as a young performer. And he's really matured over the years. He does understand that. That's why when he saw something specific, he told security to get over there. And when he saw other things that were specific, he made sure that somebody went to help. So
when he was telling the crowd that night to rage, that was not inciting them?
I don't think so. I think it's nothing more than any other performer wants. You want your audience to be engaged.
Rage, sorry, I was muted, is a word that Travis uses in his shows, in his tweets, in his conversations with his fans. It is Instagram posts. I think that raging is something that he says all the time. And of course it's going to be scrutinized now. But here's the deal. Like, I just wish that for one moment in time, he saw the ambulance, he saw things kind of going awry. Do I think the man saw CPR go in progress? Absolutely not. These people were on the ground. In some cases, they were on the back of golf carts. I mean, it was insane to watch these people. You've got to have a backboard, kind of like on Michael Jackson. Whenever they put him back in the bed to deliver CPR, no, 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 no. You have to have a flat surface to deliver. Sorry, I'm making my computer say deliver chest compressions. Okay, like it was chaos. So part of me believes that he didn't know anything or see anything. But how do you escape that whenever the entire world is talking about it? Wait, I'm on camera. Sorry about that. Okay, let's play the rest.
You want them to be standing up. You don't want them to be sitting down. I certainly don't think I know he didn't have anything like this in mind, certainly. He wanted them to be engaged. He wanted them to have a good time. We're coming out of COVID. This is what this festival was about.
Ed McPherson, we thank you so much for your time this morning.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks.
So that was what the attorney had to say. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be so many, there's going to have to be for anything moving forward. Every time there's something that sets a negative precedent, I mean, look at 9/11 and how it changed forever as far as people that travel. Anytime there's a precedent set that's not the normal and it's a mass casualty event, there has to be new things in order to prevent this from happening. Because otherwise, there's just not going to be any, I mean, festivals, there's just not going to be able to be anything that, oh, actually, I did do the right one. So again, here are the victims. Hopefully they all can be show up with my thing in the corner. How do I get that down? I'm not sure, but this is the total victim list as of right now. As young as 14 years old, and then several in their 20s, but none that expected to go for a fun night to see their favorite artists and end up not coming home to their families. And it's so tragic. It's so upsetting. And please, like I said, maybe I will plan to try to post the GoFundMe's either in my community tab for these people, because I know that Travis has offered to pay for their funerals, but a lot of them, at least one that I know for sure, has not accepted that and went ahead and moved on with the funeral expenses on their own. And it's very tragic. It's, again, it reminds me of the Route 91 Harvest Fest in Vegas. So much. It's just that in this instance, it wasn't a, madman shooting from a hotel room. This was literally the cause of people wanting to be close to their favorite artist and rushing a stage and a setup that was ill-equipped to be able to manage that type of pressure. Again, there was no way out. I'm going to show it one last time just so you can, I mean, it's just frightening to see. And we're going to hear in litigation in these civil cases, it's most certainly going to be a class action lawsuit, since there are already over 100 lawsuits filed with different entities for different, defendants. Some people are suing Live Nation. Some people are suing a secondary security company that was noted to have been hired. There was an interview with one of the security guards that said he was not even shown his license or his ID, and he was paid by Cash App. So a lot of lawsuits are going to be coming out, and hopefully we'll be able to ongoingly and discuss this. Even though I'm not an attorney, I can somewhat navigate through legal paperwork, and I can for sure navigate through any of the autopsies or toxicology reports that come out, because I do wrongful death, medical malpractice, expert consultation for various attorneys. And I will be able to at least get through that and be able to explain it to y'all once those findings come out. So yeah, and that's another thing. That's a very good point, because I think that there's a new report of this, some kind of an arbitration clause with Live Nation. And then that arbitration clause, if I'm not mistaken, I heard about this right before I went live, and I didn't really get to do much research on it. But from what I'm gathering is that whenever you buy a ticket, there's fine print. Anytime you buy any kind of an event ticket, there's going to be fine print. And it's a lot of the times you just kind of skip over it because it might be about like if you can't attend or, refund status or rain or shine. But if you get down into that fine print, oh, absolutely, he did. Absolutely. Because that was even before technology that his teams were able to handle the amount of people falling out in their crowds, Where are they now? Because it's you've got to have and he knew that his fans are as crazy as they are about him. He knew that it would be post-pandemic excitement. Nobody's been anywhere. Some people, this is their first time out since 2020. But what was I saying before that? Oh yeah, arbitration clause. Evidently somewhere, and I will look at it and try to post it. But in the arbitration clause, it says, if I'm not mistaken, that at any time, let me see if I can find it. One moment. Let me stop my camera and see if I can just find it. I don't know why my profile picture isn't showing up. Okay, let's see. Okay, it says, but I don't know these acronyms. It comes up, but I'll circle back on that eventually one of these days. Or I can just kind of touch on it tonight from what I understand, and I could be wrong, so don't go and do your own research because I'm not sure if I'm actually correct. You were in the front and smashed up against barricades. I was terrified. See, and it's terrifying. And it's not only just getting crushed, it's your adrenaline, and that adrenaline can cause, other things to happen too. It's a panic situation. But anyway, arbitration clause in the Live Nation purchase agreement, I believe, says that at any point in time, Live Nation could change their clauses and eventually, basically, to protect them from being sued in any kind of a class action agreement, which is crazy to me because I guess a lot of us, I'm guilty. I don't read the fine print on everything unless I actually have to. Even when I'm made to scroll down and like click something, I'll scroll, click, whatever. But I'm sure that in this, and I'll have to, like I said, look into it more. But if that's the case, and I know there was some statements being stated about that if he refunded, which he's agreed to refund all concert goers, well, yeah, you better, their tickets. And it's been stated that even with that refund, that could cancel out or negate the fact that you could later press charges on either the venue, the planners, the production, or the artist. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds. It's so sad for the families with this. I mean, I still don't think I've wrapped my head totally around the fact that literally these children and these young adults went to have a good time at a concert and never get to go home again. It's not acceptable. And I think that in the future, that emergency preparedness should take complete paramount over anybody, no matter how big the artist is or their response for their crowd. Emergency preparedness. There should have been, if that's the case, there should have been, ambulances stayed or the small ambulance. There should have been trails for them, not just for the cameramen and the security. There should have been there should have been things. Looking back and, hindsight's always 20/20, but when you can't get to your patients and you've got the life-saving equipment and you can't get to these people, time is of the essence. You have less than 5 minutes to save somebody's brain from becoming so hypoxic that they won't ever respond again. And 5 minutes is pushing it. You're talking time is muscle is what we say in medicine, meaning the heart. Your muscle, the heart muscle, does not have long at all. And these people, the paramedic said he could not get through this crowd. It took 5 minutes. it took the time that he would have needed to save that person's heart, ultimately their brain and their life, and he couldn't get there. So, yeah, I believe that the days to come are going to be more informative. The lawsuits are going to be plentiful. And I think the liability, once the investigation is completed, will be a little bit more narrowed down as to who's held responsible. Again, it's going to be deposition and interview and after interview to figure out what was said over the radios. I'm not sure if that stuff's recorded. I had also heard right before I came on that 2 men jumped on the stage to get him off. I don't know if that person that was talking about that was talking about the 2 people that got on the 15-foot tower where the cameraman was. I have reached out to the female on that structure, but as you can imagine, I'm sure she's getting lots of DMs, and I'm sure I don't even think she's even done an interview yet. I'm not sure, but hopefully she will reach out to me eventually to see if she would like to come on, because it was just horror. What I saw was horror, catastrophe, and something that I hope never happens again. Oh, that person's back. Okay, I'll fix it. But I'm going to end this stream. Thank you all for coming. I hope you all have a good Friday night. I know Heidi will be live later. I think 9 p.m. Central Time. But I'm going to try to post some of these GoFundMe's for these families to help. I mean, even $1, $5, whatever you've got helps. And then I will post some of the other footage. I need to read the terms of service with this community tab thing and see what I'm allowed to post and what, and maybe some of you that are more, arbitration requires mediation. Okay. Yeah, but I do plan to follow up with this case. Thank you. Perfect. And give you guys the information as I get it. Again, this is, although I live an hour and a half from Houston, I work 40 minutes from the venue, and it's somewhere that I have went countless times in my life. And it's just heartbreaking to think that that was an attempt to bring Houston's youth and young adults together, and it ended in this tragedy. So y'all have a wonderful night, guys. Thank you all for the wonderful, sweet comments. I thank all of you for coming. I hope y'all all have a wonderful night, and we'll talk soon. Bye.